Hello, welcome back to In Session with Jamie E. So, this is the first video of our series. So, to kick off the month of January, I want to do a series about deliverance and therapy. We have really started to see it come in the church a little bit more. Therapy, understanding of deliverance, what it looks like, why people who are saved need therapy, how you can pray away a thing, but you also have to deal with a thing. And God has started to give me a lot of revelation on these things. I'm also looking to go back to school to get more wisdom and knowledge so that I can help you guys and I can make things make sense. So, for the first in session of this series, we're going to start with the title of Tell Your Story. All right. When I ended my last in session, I talked about knowing your story. I talked about my story. I talked about knowing what my history was and what I need to get free from. I did a Wonder Woman conference in Chicago, Illinois, in December of last year. It was powerful. The Lord even began to show me more of who I am, more of what He called me to be, what He called me to do. But one thing He showed me was the way you do this is deliverance. You talking things out is deliverance. And I keep going back to the verbiage of God being a good counselor. We hear it, we've read it, but I'm also understanding the therapeutic aspect of God. And I love it. It makes me, when I do this, I feel like I'm doing ministry. And it doesn't just feel like, oh, I'm just sitting and talking to people. Because most time I'm not really talking, I'm listening. But there's so much healing that comes when people are able to talk things out and tell their story. So my goal is for these in sessions to be about 30 minutes, if not a little bit shorter. And sometimes, as you guys know, with my Facebook lives, it can go anywhere. But let's start there. Some of us know the things that we need to be delivered from. There are others of us who do not know. And part of the reason that we don't know is because we don't understand our history, and we sometimes are too afraid to really go back and tell the tale. One thing I always do is when I'm listening to a client tell their story, I'm big at calling a spade a spade. I'm big at saying that this is what it was and this is what happened, and we're not going to sugarcoat it because it didn't sugarcoat itself when it was dealing with you. And so we're not going to sugarcoat this thing to deal with it. A lot of times it is hard for people to say that this is what it is, because there are moments that we're really just trying to reconcile that this thing actually happened, from the people it happened with, and the ways that things happen. Like, life has been hard. And so for us to get through, for us to make it, we will sometimes sit back and narrate it in a way that is not true. So I gave you my example last time about my story, the things I went through, but it took me going back to my history to understand why things happened the way that they did in the present. So this is going to be interactive. Tell your story. My question to you is, as God asked me, what happened to you? What happened to you? Who caused you to be the way that you are today? Who said whatever they said about you that made you show up how you're showing up? What happened to you that you created the narrative that you have about yourself? This brings up a second question. Why do you live at the level that you live on? For some of us, we are exactly where we want to be, and I think it's good to know why. Why am I here? What pushes me to get here? What do I still deal with while I'm here? For many of us, we haven't even reached the cusp of the thing that we're called to do and what we want to be. The question is why? Why are we settling for mediocrity? Why are we okay with stagnation? Why do we have a poverty mindset? Why are you not doing your heart's desires? Why are you not completing the thing? Why do you not have the degree yet? Why? What are your stories? What is the narrative that you have shaped about who you are, where you are, and what you're called or not called to do? Where did it come from? For some of us, it has to go back to the beginning. Maybe it's the way we were raised. Maybe it was things that were said to us as a kid. And maybe it's the things we have yet to talk about. Because we rationalize in our minds that, we shouldn't, we need to protect them. That can't be true. I don't think that that's what it is. So many things. But then on the flip side, we also have new things that have happened. The disappointments that came up, the divorces that you've been through, the no's that you received, the doors that you tried to walk in and they closed the door on you, the way that you did things and how people turned their backs on you, the betrayals. There's so many things, and it is creating a narrative. So first, if I want to be free, if I want to experience another level of deliverance, I need to understand my history and I need to understand my story. Me understanding my history gives me perspective to where I am. Sometimes we're looking for answers that we already have. We just got to go back to the history book. Why am I operating like this? Why is life happening the way that it's happening? Again, your history. We'll also begin to unravel some of the generational curses if we go back even further. Some of the things that you are dealing with, you're inclined to deal with because of your bloodline, because of the things that granddaddy didn't face, because of things that great grandmother dealt with. And so you'll see trends in your family, trends of alcoholism, trends of divorce, trends of people never being married. You'll see all kinds of trends of just unfaithful behaviors, trends of disloyalty, sometimes murderous trends, and sometimes even, this is random that I'm even saying this, but some of the people who struggle with barrenness and things like that, we need to almost go back to the trend in our families and see who might have made soul ties and covenants with spirits, deities, and entities that actually prevent us from giving birth. If you see that in your family, it's almost like people are not producing, or we cannot finish, or things cannot be completed. It almost would be to me that there is something in my bloodline that is attached to a spirit that keeps me from coming full term. And it starts in the spiritual, but it shows up in the natural. So a lot of the issues that we have in the natural, a lot of times lead us back to something that happened in the spiritual. All right, look at your fruit. If you feel like I don't really know where I need healing at or where I would need deliverance from, let's look at the fruit. What areas of your life is not bearing fruit, or the fruit is dying, or the fruit that it produces is bad? That's a good sign. Again, one of my goals is to make it very simple for us. And I've learned that sometimes when you talk to people, and this is not an attack on intelligence, but you have to talk to people at like a 3rd to 5th grade level. Make it make sense, because when it makes sense, they're able to grasp it and move forward with it. It is hard to plant seed on ground where it's just like, I don't even understand what you're saying. Talk to me like I don't really know. So that's the goal. Make it make sense. Where are the areas? Because we talk about deliverance and healing, and some people are like, baby, I don't even know what that means. Let's break it down. What are areas that I want to see look better for me? What are things that seem to be stagnant and not moving forward? It could be your career, it could be friendships, it could be family, it could be relationships, it could be a number of things. But I want you to address it, because by you addressing it allows you an opportunity to dig into the why and get to the root, so you can deal with that thing so that it can heal. So here we are. There might be a few things that you were able to name. There might have been a few things that you were able to address, and some things that might have pulled up for you. And so I want to encourage you to write those things down, because it's good to take a note. It's good to write it down. It's good to scribe it, because then you can always go back and say, God did that. Let me check that off. Okay, God, came through here. And okay, like I love journaling things, because it just gives me a track record for where I'm at, what I'm doing, and it keeps me on the path of like having those goals for what's next for me. So here we are. Write your story. Another question that I now want to ask is, what is preventing you from telling your truth? The Bible says the truth shall set us free. God also says he wants to know truth in the inward parts. And by us not telling our truth, a lot of us lock ourselves into a prison that we don't necessarily have to be locked in, but we become locked in because we cannot unlock truth. God is not afraid of your truth, and more than that, he actually knows it. But he's not going to force his way into places and spaces and just like budge into certain conversations that you're not ready to have. As you let God into spaces, he kindly deals with those spaces. Tasha Cobbs had a song, and I listened to this CD over and over and over again. And the song was Gracefully Broken. And she kept talking about how God gracefully breaks us. He doesn't just break us to leave us, break us for all these different things, but he breaks us for the sake of healing. One thing, when I got divorced, it felt like a glass vase was thrown on the ground and was fully broken open. In me being so broken open, I was able to not only see areas that I needed to heal, God also began to show me areas that were not yet unlocked. And one thing that people tend to say when it comes to therapy, or the drawback for not wanting to do therapy yet, is because of some of the things that they're not ready to deal with. And that is totally understandable. And sometimes I consider, when have you spoken truth and it has not gone well? I always start sessions off telling people, hey, this here is between me and you. Me, you, and God. That's the only people in this room. This is also a no judgment zone. I am not here to talk to you about things just so I can judge your reasoning and anything like that. And I am learning the love of God in these sessions. Deliverance doesn't always look like throwing up, rolling on the floor, contortions of the body, and things like that. Sometimes it is simply a cry. Sometimes it's simply a wail. Sometimes it is simply understanding. And one thing that it looks like in therapy is finally being able to tell your story, finding a place that listens and hears that story with grace and with love. And from there, being able to release, all the things that have held you up for years. I have a lot of clients that be like, I don't ever cry. But it's just finally your body's able to release, so that you can breathe again, so that you can let go, so that you can get again back to God's original intent for your life. So tell your narrative, tell your story. Without truth, without honesty, sometimes it is hard to usher in that level of deliverance, because you don't believe that you need it. or you won't accept it because of whatever the reason is. And it's not always a bad reason. Some of us don't really know who God is, and the God that we've seen other people talk about is not necessarily one we desire, if we really tell the truth. I don't really like how your God operates. So I don't know why you would ever think that I would go to church or I would ever do this, or I'm doing better than you. Why would I ever? And so I think as Christians, we have to be careful about how we show up, how we live, how we deal with people, how we treat people. Because sometimes we really lose that measure of God's love and kindness in our dealings with God. I don't have to force anybody into it. Okay? I tell people all the time, I do not do conversion therapy. Okay, I'm not trying to convert you into a way. I'm not trying to talk you out of a thing. All I'm doing is letting you talk, and I'm listening. In you talking and me listening and us really having dialogue and conversations, deliverance just happens on the back end anyway, because there's a heart change and there's a new heart posture that allows people to actually see God differently, that allows them to have real open and honest conversation with somebody about their thoughts and ideas. And then in turn, it starts to make them question that maybe it's not what I thought it was. A lot of our damage towards God has come from our damage towards parents and damage towards ourselves. A lot of us are projecting how we feel about ourselves onto God, projecting how our parents treated us onto God. As I am able to tell my truth of this is what happened, this is how I feel, this is what I think, now we're able to have dialogue. I really push people into relationship with God versus religious practice. If I have a relationship with my Father, I can go and talk to my Father about something that offended me. And even if I didn't like what he did, in our conversation, I can get understanding for why. And then we're able to then move forward. It's the same thing. If I have a relationship with my Creator, if I have a relationship with my God, I can sit and I can talk to God, and I can get understanding for what I don't like, and talk to him about how I felt about it. And he might say, well, it is what it is, and well, I have to learn to be okay with that. But this idea that he's so distant and he's so far away that I cannot talk to him about things is weird to me. I don't know who came up with this perception that he's this distant off thing that really doesn't want to hear us. You know, I hate saying, they say never question God. I don't know why not. Who said that? I don't see in the Bible where God ever said don't question me. I don't know. Maybe I missed it. Maybe I need to go back and read. But I got questions. God, I don't understand. Why are you allowing this? What is happening? And you know what? I keep saying this so often. When you ask, he will answer. And he will make it very clear for you. And you question your parents. You question your man, your woman. You question your friends when things don't make sense. So why do we have an issue just asking God questions? I actually saw Abraham ask him the same question like 3, 4, 5 times. Well, if there's only one, will you destroy it? If there's only 500, will you destroy it? If there's he kept asking the same question. But then we're told not to question God. Not only did God answer him, and not only was he patient in his answers, but God also spared Lot because he was willing to ask. So questions might actually get us deliverance, not just for ourselves, but for other people. Come on, that was free. That was good. I don't know. That was good. So this is just the first, we just kind of getting our feet wet here with this thing. But deliverance, it starts sometimes with a story. It starts with us understanding that we need it. It starts with us realizing what has happened. It starts with us being honest about the fact that I can't do this on my own. And you know what? I very much so am struggling. God, I need help. Save me from me. Some of us have to be honest about the fact that we don't want it. Now, we don't talk about that. But some of us don't want it. I actually like where I am. I was there. I say, now, God, I know I ain't supposed to, but I like where I'm at. And if you don't want me to be here, you're going to have to help me. And that was my prayer. And he did. He did. Because that's the other part of it. I don't want to. My will is too strong. But I know I need to. And I need your strategy and your help to get me to the place that I'm supposed to be. And guess what? He will do it. He did it for me. I mean, he literally reached down and was like, all right, this is what we're going to do. This is what I need you to stop doing. This is how I need you to show up now. All the things. Gave me full strategy. And I realized as I continued to walk that thing out, it became easier and easier for me. And now the thing that had me so gripped no longer had a grip on me like that anymore. And I was free. So I hope this kind of plows the ground for us a little bit. I want to start a little easy before we really jump in heavy, but tell your story. Don't be ashamed. There are people who are waiting to listen, to help you process through so that you can get to that place of freedom that you truly desire to be in. All right. I hope you enjoyed this in session, and I will be back next week. Bye.